Hi, this is Gary Zacharias. You're listening to the Apologist Bookshelf. You know, this past year, I've gotten really interested in artificial intelligence, and the book that kicked it off for me is by Wallace Hindley. It's called Who Will Rule the Coming Gods? And they put gods in quotation marks, subtitled The Looming Spiritual Crisis of Artificial Intelligence. And I've gotten so much good out of this book, as short as it is. Let's see, it's 155 pages. And it's got sections about, what's going on as well as what we can do about it. And I wanted to go to chapter 6. I've done a couple of previous podcasts on this book. I think you get a lot out of it. Chapter 6 is called The God Factories. And he starts with a quotation by John Calvin I think is worth having you hear. Man's nature is a perpetual factory of idols. The mind begets an idol, and the hand gives it birth. You know, he said that in the 16th century, and I thought, he's nailed it. It's exactly right. You think about people today who say, oh, I don't believe in the Christian God. That's fairy tales for adults. That's nonsense. It's archaic or whatever. And so you go, uh-huh. And then you watch that person, and that person builds his or her own idols, which are far less effective, I would say. Anyway, so let's take a look here at the chapter. He starts talking about we are supposed to be worshiping the transcendent holy God, right? That's the way we used to be. And he says we're ending up with all sorts of utilitarian motives these days that drives idolatry in the spiritual and the material worlds, even in the secular West. And we hear things like the prosperity gospel in some types of Christianity. That's not really worshiping God with a true idea of transcendence. You know, God is out there and we're here and we need to seek his favor. But instead, it's all about utilitarian goals. We want to have more wealth, right? We want to have health. We want to have all these things in our lives. We want to have better parking places at shopping centers. Now, he said these idol makers of Silicon Valley, he said they're just as primitive and utilitarian in the making of their AI gods. And he mentions Dr. Jeremiah Johnston. I want to mention him and pass him along to you. He's president of the Christian Thinkers Society. And if you have a chance, go online sometime, type in his name, Dr. Jeremiah Johnston. It's S-T-O-N. He's done a lot of work on the Shroud of Turin. Now, of course, that's another talk entirely. But if you find that interesting, he tours the country, and he's got a mock-up of the man who's in the shroud. And so it's really fascinating. He's a professor as well at Houston Baptist University. And here's what Johnson says. There's little doubt that many in the ancient world, not only Greeks and Romans, did just that as far as creating God in our image. Right? The world before and without Christianity had all sorts of gods and religions, Johnston says, and they were products of human invention. And what did they do? They reflected the values and morals of the people who made them. Yeah, it's exactly right. We create gods in our image. So he says today's secular deities are degraded substitutes for God. He's quoting a man named Wisniewski. And it's sad because he says these inadequate idols are just enough for so-called modern man, which is really sad, isn't it? It says we all have a spiritual appetite, but today we seem satisfied with something that's greater than ourselves, but it's reducible to our petty limitations. Now, he says what we're doing today is we are producing idols in what he calls a human God factory. And so he said that's where we are today. He has a quote from J. Warner Wallace. I like Wallace a whole lot. He's a former L.A. cold case detective, and now he became a Christian and writes some amazing books. He said, and this is Wallace, his ideas, that there's a tendency of people who reject God, right? They walk away from God. Well, what do they do after they've done that? They fashion substitutes that are according to their tastes. Yeah, exactly. Really sad. Wallace says we've got atheist churches that have been formed across the U.S. aiming to offer some sort of features of a religious congregation. And For example, here's a motto of an atheist church in L.A.: live better, help often, wonder more. Yeah, that's kind of sad, isn't it? So there's good reason. Well, Wallace says this. Let me go back to Wallace. He says he thinks we're innately religious, right? We may walk away from God, but that doesn't mean we're not religious, right? We still want something bigger than us. And so the author of this book, Henley, says there's really good reason that God begins the Ten Commandments by declaring, "You shall have no other gods before me." Why? Well, what we worship shapes us and our values. Oh, that is so true, isn't it? If we worship money, guess what our values are? If we worship another person, look at our values there. So he says the critical issue now that we're dealing with artificial intelligence, he said, what's the object of worship for the people who've made these AI machines? What kind of deities have they manufactured in their own minds? That's interesting. He quotes here Yuval Harari. Now, I've read some of Harari, not a lot, but he's a really interesting guy. He said, new technologies kill old gods and give birth to new gods. So he said, what we're going to get now, this revolutionary technology of the 21st century, he says it's going to spawn unprecedented religious movements, right? So it's going to just have all sorts of explosive new religious movements out there. Of course, they won't be Christian, and they'll be techno-religions. That's what Harari calls them. So here's what he says. In the coming decades, new techno-religions are likely to take over the world by promising salvation. Now notice what he says. How do they promise salvation? Through algorithms and genes. He says in the 21st century, this is still Harari, we will create more powerful myths and more totalitarian religions than in any previous era. He said, with the help of biotechnology and computer algorithms, these religions will not only control our lives, they'll shape our bodies, our brains, our minds. He says they can create entire virtual worlds that are going to be complete with hells and heavens. Now, somebody at one time gave a name to this new technical religion that's beginning to come out. He calls it technolatry, kind of like idolatry. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. He said that the spirit of the human made in the image of God is able to function with God in communion, right? We have a conscience, and we can comprehend a transcendent value as a standard for all of our ethics, right? Instead of what I want, what I think is okay, that there's going to be a transcendent ethic, a transcendent value out there. It's beyond us. And that we can engage with the Holy Spirit. We'll receive intuitions, but not with AI. He says spiritless AI can't be fully human. He says, but there's going to be a spirit out there that will exploit any material object that someone is willing to worship as a god. Of course, Paul says an idol is nothing. Paul in 1 Corinthians 10, and if you look at Deuteronomy 32, but Paul says, I'm saying these sacrifices that are made to idols are offered to what? Paul says demons, not to God. So Henley says, because I get what he's doing here, he's not wanting to say anything that's AI is demonic. He said they're not inherently demonic, computers and AI. But he says once you start regarding them consciously or unconsciously as gods and go to them for advice and all, you're opening yourself, he says, to spiritual delusion. He says scientism, it says science is the only thing of value, things that you can weigh and measure. He says it's dangerous because that dismisses the spiritual dimension. And once you do that, it makes the individual really vulnerable. Somebody said this world of the distraction or diversion or perversion of humanity by technology ends up in adoration, veneration, and beatification. Right, so it's going to have a religious sentiment to it. He said the great quest of the demonic is for an empty vessel that they can fill. That's what Jesus talked about in Matthew 12. Some people believe, he says, there's a link between demonic influence and control and the violence of our time. He says humans who have empty spirits are prime targets for demonization, but so, he says, are spiritless machines who become idols. See, that's the danger. This machine may not be demonic itself, but once people attach themselves to that machine looking for all the answers from it, that's where you're going to get into trouble. Google co-founder Sergey Brin said this: "Some say Google is God, but others say Google is Satan." Yeah, I worry about the ones that say Google is God, don't you? So he says the fundamental temptation we're dealing with today in this fallen world is power. There's a quote from somebody, and they don't know who said it, I guess, but nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. Yeah, that's really a good point. He says any seat of power, I mean, whether it's a company or a leader of a family or even, unfortunately, a senior pastor, maybe an elder at a church, any seat of power is able to be corrupted and to have demonic influences as a result. There's, of course, that famous quote, "Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men." That's part of the quote. One person said this: "As a person's power increases, their moral sense diminishes." Oh, that's really sad, but I think that's probably right. Yeah. So this declaration of the godhood of AI is just one more attempt of the human race to seize the throne of God. That's what he was talking about here. So he said, here we see that human beings, we look back in Genesis, we were originally made to be in the image of God. It's called Imago Dei. And that eventually the people are going to attempt to make creations in their own fallen image, right? So something in the image of us, Imago Hominis. Genesis says God breathed into the form he had made and became a living soul. But Henley asks, well, what is it that human creators will breathe into the artificial intelligence machines that they're going to construct? Yeah. And then, of course, key question here. Why would we build machines that become our lords and masters and jettison the true God of transcendent love and holiness? And he ties this in as he ends the chapter with Revelation 13. When you think about artificial intelligence being almost worshipped as a god, he says, look at Revelation 13, verse 15 says this: "And it was given to him to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast would even speak, and cause as many as do not worship the image of the beast to be killed." And then verse 18 identifies the beast. Many say this is the Antichrist. And it says, let him who has understanding calculate the number, and that's where we get, of course, 666. So the image of the beast is an image of humans, not God. So he says, I don't know, basically, if you look at that Revelation passage, it's literal or not, but it said it does present an ominous picture of power. He says it raises a key question. In the worship of artificial intelligence as God, is it possible that humanity will become subject to an image that gains unprecedented power over the world and its people? You know, about 6 months ago, I guess, I spoke at a church about artificial intelligence, and a couple of people raised this issue. You know, they were very concerned. They said, do you think artificial intelligence is actually going to be part of end times prophecy regarding the ability to control massive numbers of people? And I can see that. I bet you can too. Anything with computers gives you an ability to crunch a large number of inputs, right? You could crunch people and places and weather patterns and all this kind of stuff. So if you can gather enough information on people, you can control them. So he ends the chapter by saying, are we building 666? Yeah, pretty scary idea here. So once again, I just want to mention the book's title is Who Will Rule the Coming Gods? And what his whole point is, he's concerned that technology, specifically AI and robots, he says they're eclipsing our reverence for the transcendence of God, right? We always thought God was out there. God was separate from us. God was bigger than us. God had the answers, and we had to be reverent toward him. So what are we doing today? we're creating AI machines that might eventually become our masters. And he said, today we're already seeing people worshiping at the great God of AI. He says, it's kind of like the old Philistines that bowed before statues of the idol Dagon. So it's a quite interesting book here. He's talking about the impending moral and ethical choices that we're going to have to make as believers in Jesus, right? We've got to hold AI and the creators accountable to the true God. Otherwise, what's going to happen? The world spins into peril, he says. So the key question that the whole book deals with, are we going to let AI eclipse the true God? So that's Wallace Henley. Really an interesting guy. He's an author or co-author of like 20-some books. So it's a small book, but I think just reading it gives you a feeling for, what's coming. And I just think AI is going to be huge. I've got 2 or 3 other books that I will share with you. Now, I've already shared some of their content in previous podcasts, but we really need to know AI, first of all, know what it is, know how it works, and then to keep our kids and our family away from being terribly influenced by it. It's going to do some great things, by the way, so I don't want us to say as Christians it's all bad. Yeah, we get kind of a bad rap for thinking that any technology is bad, right? Christians have been associated with being backward, which is not true. But we have to be careful, right? It can do some amazingly positive things. But because it can do these amazing positive things, people are unfortunately kind of willing to walk away from the true God and see this as our salvation, to see this as our Savior, to see this as the thing we should worship, the thing that we have made. And of course, humans being broken are not going to create perfectly wonderful things, right? It's always going to have part of us in it. And that's the danger of it. Well, thank you so much for being part of this podcast. And I hope you deal with AI effectively. It's something we all need to grapple with, old and young. Thanks for being part of the podcast. We'll do another one soon.